Marvel and DC used to cross over a lot, especially in the 90s, but this was the first one. I think it was the first one, which is Superman versus the Amazing Spider-Man from 1976. This is a facsimile, a reprint, but it's a pretty chunky comic. But obviously we have DC's Superman and Marvel's Spider-Man teaming up in the 70s, and yes, it's wonderfully weird and awesome and very 70s. Absolutely love it, and it's in this big huge kind of treasury edition. So yes, in homage to that, here we have DC's version of Superman Spider-Man, 26 variant covers. I picked up 8. This is the standard cover, which is awesome. This is by Jorge Jimenez, and yes, we can see there obviously similar colors, red and blue. And on the back we've got this the same. On the back of all of them, we've got an ad for DC Comics, Batman Superman World's Finest, issue number 50. That's an oversized 40-page special, and we've got Mr. Mixelplix or Mixelpidlick and Batmite, Robin and Batgirl, all that on the back cover as well. And a Weird Al Yankovic variant cover, which is pretty cool. So yes, I know they did a William Shatner variant cover, I think maybe it was last year or the year before. So I do love this series, it's pretty awesome. But anyway, let's have a look at the 8 covers I picked up for Superman Spider-Man. I do recommend picking this up. It's just fun. Like, there's 8 stories I think in total in this extra sized one-shot, but very, very fun. Obviously, if you're familiar with Superman and Spider-Man and you've been reading them, both characters, for a while, obviously I guess you'll get more out of it, because there's certainly a lot of versions with both characters. But yeah, it's just fun, and I love this kind of thing. So the first story rather, is titled Truth, Justice and Great Responsibility. That's by wonderful writer Mark Waid, one of my favourites, and Jorge Jimenez, also one of my favourites. So that's Brainiac and Dr. Octopus teaming up, and you get Dr. Octopus with some wonderful kryptonite fused arms, which is pretty cool. And then you've got 7 other stories in total, including Lois Lane and Mary Jane, so the wives, girlfriends of both characters teaming up. That's by Tom King and Jim Lee. We've got Superboy Prime teaming up with Black Suit Amazing Spider-Man. That's by Christopher Priest and Danielle Sampere, and that's a very kind of meta adventure. You've got Superboy and Spider-Man 2099, so you've got the Superboy Legion of the Superheroes kind of future set Superboy, and that's called Beyond the Cobwebs of Tomorrow by writer and artist Sean Murphy. You've got a pretty fun Jimmy Olsen and Carnage team up by Matt Fraction and Steve Lieber, who are known for their pretty wacky Jimmy Olsen comics. And then you've got the dads of both heroes in a story entitled The Bridge, written by Jeff Lemire and Rafael Sandoval, by Jonathan Kent and Ben Parker. And then you've got The Daily Planet and The Daily Bugle by Greg Rucka and Nicholas Scott. Finally, you've got Power Girl and The Punisher teaming up in like a blind date dingy bar kind of scenario by Gail Simone and Belen Ortega. It's pretty awesome. I just like all the deep dives, the little nods to the both characters' history. It's pretty fun. So yes, as I said, definitely recommend picking up at least one copy of the many wonderful covers on display. Of the 8 covers that I picked up, this is the one that I didn't pre-order, but very glad that there was one copy left in my comic shop. And we've basically got the 2 heroes riding or driving their wacky vehicle. So we've got Superman in his Supermobile, which is wonderful. If you know the Kenner Superpowers line back in the 80s, there was a figure of that, a vehicle of that, and McFarlane Toys re-released it recently as well. And then we've got Spider-Man in his Spider Buggy. I love this kind of leaning into the nonsense of it all. And then we've obviously got Doc Octopus arms and Green Goblin pumpkins, and then we've got a couple of little Toyman nods as well. I love this cover by Evan Doc Shaner, known for his kind of more, I guess, stylized, quirky, oddball, kind of nostalgic art. It really fits with this cover and the wacky vehicles that they're riding. This cover by Daniel Sampere is pretty awesome. It's got kind of the more evil kind of anti-hero versions of both characters. So we've got the black suit or symbiote versions of Spider-Man, and we've got Superboy Prime, who was basically a different version from a parallel universe brought back by Jeff Johns in Infinite Crisis in 2005-2006. So he's basically a more angry version of Superboy, and with a cool costume, and he has the ability to kind of go between worlds pretty much. So yes, both of these characters feature in their own story in this comic. So Black Suit Spider-Man and Superboy Prime. I'm not that familiar with David Talaski's artwork, but this looks pretty cool. It's Black Cat and Power Girl. So Black Cat doesn't feature in her own story, but Power Girl does, as I said, teaming up with the Punisher, and I think the final story in this issue. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. So it's kind of got that 70s, 80s poster style art with the light reflections and whatnot. So yes, a very kind of moody but glorious cover with Power Girl and Black Cat. Standard hero pose here, posing on a skyscraper. So we've got obviously Superman and Spider-Man, and this is by penciler Jim Lee and his frequent collaborators and colorists Scott Williams and Alex Sinclair. So it's always good to see some more Jim Lee cover art. I love Gabriel Dell'Otto's artwork, have for many years, and he just does some fantastic work. And I mean, effectively this is just a black and white artwork. We've got Black Suit Spider-Man again, looking very menacing and cool, and that's Superman when he returned from the dead in 1992, 93, and he had his resurrection suit or black suit, because we know that black absorbs more color. So you know, as he was getting his energy back from the sun's rays, he wore a black suit after he came back from the dead. So both of these characters in their cool black outfits. I'd imagine this by famed cover artist Stanley Art Germ Lau. This will be one of the covers that flies off the shelves. So obviously we have Supergirl, and we've got Silk, who's one of the Spider-Man characters. I've actually got her first appearance, which I'm happy about. So yes, both cool characters, and I can definitely see this cover flying off the shelves. So pretty awesome. Another cover artist who's just grown in popularity over the last few years, DNA has his signature there, David Nakayama, and this is the Kingdom Come, the future version of Superman. He's a bit aged and a bit grey around the temples, and the classic Spider-Man. And I just love what they've done with kind of the blues and reds here on the cover. So there's the 8 covers that I picked up. There was a J. Scott Campbell cover as well, which I didn't pick up, but I had to stop somewhere. There's so many cool covers, so I'm pretty happy with these that I've got. If you missed out on DC's version of Superman Spider-Man, you can get Marvel's version in April of Spider-Man Superman. So they did the same with the Batman Deadpool. Both companies, when they crossed over the last few months, DC did a version, and then Marvel did their own version with different stories and different cover artists and all that kind of stuff. So yes, DC's version is now out. Marvel's is out in April. This is the free Marvel previews that came out back in February for April shipping product. So yes, it's not too late to look at the Marvel one. And again, there's so many different covers that they are going to be releasing for the Marvel version. So yes, pretty cool indeed. So it's a good time to be a comic book fan. That's one of my favourites with Mark Bagley. We've got Conduit and Cardiac, two obscure characters from the 90s. But yes, looking absolutely awesome. So these are more variant covers from Marvel coming in April. Pretty awesome. So yes, keep your eye out for that. But there we go. Pretty happy to get DC's version, Superman, Spider-Man. Wonderful stories. Highly recommended. See if there's any at your shop and grab them now.